Farmer Chuck Thompson was doing what he always did on a Wednesday morning, sitting on a rickety stool in his barn, milking Bessie, his favorite cow, while humming an out-of-tune rendition of Old MacDonald Had a Farm. Life was simple out here in the rural heart of America, where cows outnumbered people, and the biggest excitement was when the corn grew half an inch taller overnight. Chuck was a man of few words and even fewer worries. His overalls hadn't been washed in weeks, and his giant mustache was dusted with bits of hay and traces of last night's chili. "A man's gotta eat," Chuck would often say, defending his questionable hygiene practices, and today was no different, until a sudden, earth-shaking rumble turned his tranquil morning into what could only be described as utter chaos. With a deafening clang, something enormous landed right in the middle of his cornfield. Chuck turned slowly, squinting as the dust settled. A giant, shimmering object the size of a football field loomed before him. A spaceship shaped like a cowbell, with what appeared to be udders dangling from the underside. Chuck scratched his belly and grumbled, "Well, this can't be good." The spaceship door hissed open, and out marched a parade of what looked like walking cows on two legs, decked out in shimmering silver capes and glowing helmets. Leading the charge was a towering bovine with a coat as white as fresh milk and eyes that gleamed with an air of self-importance. "I am Muzart," the giant cow bellowed in a deep, melodramatic voice. "Leader of the galactic herd. We have traveled from the stars seeking salvation from the Muflu, a plague that has ravaged our species." Chuck stared at the space cows, unmoved. "Ain't you supposed to moo or something?" he muttered, squinting at them like they were just another tourist group lost in the middle of nowhere. Muzart ignored him, continuing his speech. "We have heard legends of your magic drink, the sacred elixir that flows from your bovine brethren. The time has come for you to share this gift, Earthling." Chuck glanced at Bessie, then back at Muzart. "You mean milk?" "Yes," Muzart said, raising his hooves dramatically to the sky. "The milk of life. Only this can save us from the Muflu's curse. Neon spots, uncontrollable line dancing, and a flatulence that could topple planets." Chuck scratched his head. "So you space cows are here because you're farting yourselves to death?" Muzart's eyes flashed indignantly. "This is a matter of galactic security. Do not make light of our plight." Chuck, who was more interested in finishing his morning chores than saving the galaxy, sauntered into the house, the space cows trotting behind him. He rummaged through his fridge, pulling out a half-gallon of his special recipe, chocolate milk. He gave the bottle a little shake, cracked it open, and took a sip. Muzart watched with a glimmer of hope. "Is that the sacred drink?" Chuck paused, looking at the bottle. "This? Nah, this is chocolate milk. You ever had it before?" Before Muzart could answer, Chuck poured the creamy brown liquid into a bowl and slid it across the kitchen table. Muzart sniffed it, tentatively lapping at the milk with his enormous tongue. Within seconds, his eyes grew wide, and a dazzling rainbow of colors flashed across his coat. The neon spots disappeared, and his posture straightened. "By the great Milky Way," Muzart exclaimed, his Shakespearean voice booming. This is the cure." The other space cows immediately began crowding around, slurping down gallons of Chuck's chocolate milk straight from the jug. Within minutes, the entire herd was back to their normal selves, if you could call talking space cows normal. Chuck leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Y'all flew across the galaxy just to drink my chocolate milk? Well, I'll be damned." The following days brought an influx of chaos like Chuck had never seen. Word spread across the galaxy faster than a sneeze in a hayfield. Earth's chocolate milk had cured the Muflu. In no time, Chuck's farm had become a pilgrimage site for space cows from all corners of the universe. Muzart declared Chuck a living deity, and soon Chuck's barn was turned into a makeshift temple, with cows bowing to Bessie like she was some kind of divine figure. Chuck couldn't even mow his lawn without bumping into tourists snapping photos of his cows. Giant statues of him in overalls, holding a milk jug, were erected around the farm. The space cows had even started building an elaborate altar out of milk crates, where they chanted strange bovine hymns. Chuck's neighbor, Old Man Jenkins, popped by one afternoon to see the spectacle. "You know, Chuck," Jenkins said, eyeing the towering statues, "this whole chocolate milk thing's gotten out of hand. Reckon you ought to stop this before they start sacrificing something." Chuck sighed, popping open another cold glass of chocolate milk. Jenkins, I don't even like chocolate milk that much. They're the ones making a big fuss. As if things couldn't get weirder, Mozart, in a fit of galactic euphoria, decided that one glass of chocolate milk simply wasn't enough. He started guzzling down jugs like they were going out of style, his body expanding with each sip until he was nearly the size of a barn. Chuck watched, eyebrows raised. Hey now, big fella, you're gonna burst if you keep going like that. But Mozart was beyond reason. The Moo Flu will never return, he bellowed, his booming voice shaking the rafters. More chocolate milk, more? Suddenly, Mozart's body began to swell uncontrollably like an overinflated balloon. His hooves flailed wildly, knocking over hay bales and sending space cows running for cover. I am Mozart, conqueror of... Before he could finish, Mozart's body lifted off the ground, expanding like a blimp. Chuck, always the practical farmer, grabbed the nearest garden hose and turned it on full blast, spraying Mozart down with regular milk. Mozart let out a long, dramatic moo as the pressure deflated him, his enormous form shrinking back down to his regular size with a comical whoosh. In the aftermath of the dairy disaster, Chuck negotiated with Mozart. Look, he said, wiping the sweat from his brow, y'all can take a couple gallons of chocolate milk with ya, but after that, you gotta go. I got corn to harvest. Mozart, now sufficiently humbled, bowed his head. Thank you, wise earthling, for your gift of the sacred elixir. We shall never forget your benevolence. Yeah. Chuck waved them off. Just don't come back, you hear? With that, the space cows loaded up their ship with as much chocolate milk as they could carry, bidding farewell to their new dairy god. The cowbell-shaped spaceship blasted off into the sky, disappearing into the stars with one final leap, distant moo echoing in the heavens. Chuck leaned against the fence, watching them go. He chuckled to himself and took another sip of his chocolate milk. Well, he said, tipping his hat, at least I didn't have to clean up the mess. And with that, life on the farm went back to normal, or as normal as it ever was in Dairyland.
Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe for more original content. New chapters and standalone stories uploaded weekly.